Welcome to the Sports Angle. I'm your host, Rachiele, live in Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world. Let's get into it. We are doing our 2021 NBA Mock Draft 2.0 here on the Sports Angle. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do the lottery picks we have in front of you right now. So let's get into it. Let's talk about the upcoming 2021 NBA mock draft here on the Sports Angle. First pick, Detroit Pistons. They will select point guard Cade Cunningham from Oklahoma State. He has been the consensus #1 overall pick since March of 2021. He has it all. He is a five-tool player. He's someone that should be a superstar at the next level. The Detroit Pistons, they have had Cade Cunningham fall into their lap. They drafted Isaiah Stewart last year. If I was the Detroit Pistons, I would personally pick Cade Cunningham, have him be at the 5, have Isaiah Stewart run the big, and then I would find somebody in the middle, have trade, go to free agency, build up that core in Detroit, because Cunningham and Stewart, they could lead a young core to Detroit, and it could lead them out of mediocrity, which they have been for the last 15 years. The second pick, the Houston Rockets, I have them selecting center Evan Mobley from USC. Evan Mobley is a big man, and he is someone that can take over in this league. He has his size, he has his strength. He also, for a big man, has speed on his side. And the fact about Evan Mobley is, if you give him the right system, if you give him the right tools around him to build on, he can become a star at the next level. The Houston Rockets have really been tearing this down since they traded James Harden. They're going to need to have a face of the franchise. Evan Mobley can do just that from USC. I believe if they draft him with the 2nd overall pick, he could be this modern generation in terms of face of the franchise for what Yao Ming did in Houston, for what Hakeem Olajuwon did in Houston, for what Ralph Sampson did for Houston. A big man that can be the face of the franchise and have his face plastered on all the billboards, and all of the marketing campaign in H-Town will run within Mobley. The 3rd pick in the 2021 NBA draft, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers taking shooting guard Jalen Green. Now, I like Jalen Green. He has a lot of upside. His talent level coming from the outside. The Cleveland Cavaliers are in a weird spot. They have Darius Garland. They have Colin Sexton. They have a good amount of talent on that roster. The problem is they're trying to build their young core, but they still have aging veterans on their roster. They still have Kevin Love. They really don't have a solidified power forward. They don't really have a lot to build on outside of Garland and Sexton. If you are the Cleveland Cavaliers, you might have to sacrifice Garland, or you might have to sacrifice Sexton to bring in a solidified big man to Cleveland. You might have to make a trade in order to acquire someone to build alongside Sexton and or Garland and the player I have them drafting, and Jalen Green. Trust me, it would be a great backcourt of Jalen Green and Darius Garland in Cleveland, or vice versa. Having Jalen Green and Colin Sexton, it would make them have one of the most lethal backcourts in the NBA. The 4th overall pick, Toronto Raptors, point guard Jalen Suggs from Gonzaga. I will just call it how I see it. Kyle Lowry, he was the face of the franchise for so many years, but it's time to move on. It's time to get younger in Toronto. You have Van Fleet, you have Siakam, You have talent on that roster. You just won the NBA Finals not even that many years ago. What Toronto should do is find the successor to Kyle Lowry. And Jalen Suggs, based off of what we saw this past college basketball season at Gonzaga, would be the perfect candidate for that job. Outside of Cade Cunningham, Jalen Suggs is the best point guard in this NBA draft. He can do it all at the guard position. He can play defense. He can play offense. He can move around the ball. He could be outside. He can be in the post. He can make sure that he can get to the foul line. Jalen Suggs is someone that will be valuable in the NBA. So if I'm Toronto, I'm replacing Kyle Lowry with Jalen Suggs. And the 5th overall pick, the Orlando Magic, I have them taking small forward Scottie Barnes from Florida State. Now, I'm very high on Scottie Barnes. In fact, about 2 months ago, when we did our first NBA mock draft here on the YouTube channel, I was talking and I was preaching about Scottie Barnes because I believe that he would be a great talent for a team to build on. The Orlando Magic are in a weird situation. They have a solid point guard. They have a solid power forward. They have a solid shooter. But the problem is in the middle. They do not have a small forward that they can really trust and rely on. Jonathan Isaac, he hasn't really done much. There really isn't been that much of talent coming from that side with the Orlando Magic. So if I'm Orlando, I'm picking someone that can add offense at the small forward. I want to add somebody that can immediately join the roster and be starting from day one. And Scottie Barnes would be that guy. So 5th selection, Orlando Magic, Scottie Barnes, Florida State. The 6th overall pick, Oklahoma City Thunder, Jonathan Kuminga coming over from the G League. Him dropping down to Oklahoma City will be a blessing in disguise for them. They already have Shea. They have Kemba, who will most likely get traded if he doesn't. You got Kemba. You got Shea in the backcourt. Kuminga would be a real good guy in the middle. And they're going to have to build onto those big men in off season. So Oklahoma City getting him would build towards that roster. Golden State Warriors, their biggest weakness has been small forward. You have Draymond Green, you have James Wiseman, you have Curry, Thompson's coming back. You really don't have a small forward that you can trust. Andrew Wiggins, Kent Bazemore, they are clearly not the guy in Golden State. Corey Kispert could be that guy. He is a team leader. He has been proven to be a guy that can get the job done in Gonzaga. So understanding what he has done in college basketball, it should relate over to the NBA. If I'm the Golden State Warriors, I'm picking Kispert to replace Wiggins and Bazemore at small forward. I'm building on that youth that you got with Wiseman last draft. The Orlando Magic, they're going to build with Scottie Barnes by also drafting at shooting guard Moses Moody from Arkansas. I mean, you could have Moody, you can have Anthony, you can have Barnes, you can have players like Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter Jr. I mean, there's going to be so much potential in Orlando if they execute this draft correctly. I say Barnes at 5 and Moody at 8. At 9, the Sacramento Kings, you have De'Aaron Fox, you have Buddy Hield. I would add on to it. Keon Johnson from Tennessee would be a real good shooter that you can add to that roster. New Orleans Pelicans, Lonzo Ball has not been the guy. I would move on from him. Mitchell from Baylor, he was excellent in March Madness and in the last college basketball season. He has a potential upside. I would pick him to replace Lonzo Ball. Now, the rest of 11 through 15, I would just do a very quick rundown. At 11, Charlotte Hornets shooting guard James Bouknight from UConn. I don't think Gordon Hayward is going to be there for much longer. So getting somebody that can add to what LaMelo did last year would be excellent Boonite would get that done. Chris Darte from Oregon, shooting guard, going to the Spurs. DeMar DeRozan, I believe he's going to be moving on. So getting a young guy to add into Popovich's system would be a good choice. Indiana Pacers, Jalen Johnson from Duke. They're going to need to add more depth and have more role players in Indiana to get back to the playoffs. Jalen Johnson would be that guy. At 14, the Golden State Warriors, Franz Wagner. I'm putting him in a rotation role. I believe the Golden State Warriors would use Wagner very similar to how they've been using a lot of their young guys during their championship run. Putting them on the bench, having him be a 7th man, 8th man to start out, then earn his role as he progresses. So Franz Wagner at 14. Washington Wizards, we've heard about the Bradley Beal rumors. We've heard about potentially moving on and having him go to a different team. If that's the case, Williams from Stanford would be a good replacement. Now, I'm going to scroll down all the way from 16 to 30, and I will give you about a minute to really look at this. I'll just do a quick rundown here for the sports angle. At 16, Boston Celtics point guard Jaden Springer from Tennessee. I like his upside. You trade away Kemba Walker, you're going to need to replace him. Josh Giddey from Australia to Memphis. Add more players on top to add help for Ja Morant. Oklahoma City Thunder, Trey Murphy from Virginia. He would add more bench options for the Oklahoma City Thunder. New York Knicks, Trey Mann from Florida. In my opinion, one of the most underrated players in this NBA draft. He has a potential to be a top 10 pick, but him falling down to 19 would be a blessing in disguise for the New York Knicks. They're building around Julius Randle. Him being on that roster would be perfect. At the 20, the Atlanta Hawks, picking the power forward from Spain. It would be able to add more big men to that roster. We saw in the Eastern Conference Finals, Clint Capella got injured. You also saw John Collins getting posterized. They're going to need to add some help as a big man. He would get the job done. New York Knicks adding a center. They really have been lacking at the center position, so Sengun would definitely help that out. Lakers, Isaiah Jackson, add some youth that will probably get traded for Damian Lillard, maybe get traded for Bradley Beal, adding another superstar. So don't expect whoever gets picked at 22 to be on the Lakers this next season. The Rockets, I have them hitting back-to-back home runs with Ayo from Illinois and Sharif Cooper from Auburn. Those are definitely going to be guys who are going to be added to the bench, and they're going to get their proper minutes in year one because Cade Cunningham's going to be the main spotlight. But adding key bench players late in the first round, Houston should get that with those two. Now, Los Angeles Clippers at 25, Jared Butler from Baylor. He could replace Patrick Beverley. He could maybe fill the hole that Rajon Rondo is going to have once he leaves this offseason. So Butler being with the Clippers at 25. Denver Nuggets, shooting guard Cameron Thomas from LSU. The Denver Nuggets, we saw what happened with Jamal Murray, him getting injured. So obviously, they're going to want to add another guard to this upcoming roster. Because the shooting guard position was really considered a weak spot for them in the playoffs. Teams poked at it and kind of attacked it with everything they had. So I have them picking Thomas. Brooklyn Nets, they'll probably trade this pick as well. However, if they do keep it, Josh Christopher from Arizona State would be a solid for the Brooklyn Nets. Philadelphia 76ers, adding a big man to join that roster to be alongside Joel Embiid would be good. Joel Embiid is a natural center, someone that can be in that position, but getting a power forward to be alongside him would be good. The Phoenix Suns, depending on what happens with Chris Paul this offseason, adding a point guard to be either under him or to replace him, Miles McBride from West Virginia would be that dude. And the Utah Jazz, Mike Conley is not getting any younger. They really don't have anybody underneath him if he does eventually leave and or retire. So adding Highland from VCU would be perfect. So I'm now going to leave it to you, the fans. Do you agree or disagree with this 2021 NBA Mock Draft 2.0? Let us know down in the comment select section below. Follow, like, and share all the content we have on here. We're going to be posting more content to the YouTube channel, so don't go anywhere. We'll be here all the time on the Sports Angle. I'm your host, Rocco Rachiele, and we will see you next time.